Hey Star Wars fans, it's the Pop Kid and welcome to a brand new episode. The lightsaber is a weapon that is recognised as legendary not just in the Star Wars and pop culture communities, but in the history of film itself. It is always incredibly exciting and intense to see a battle involving the saber on screen. The blade is a truly iconic part of the Star Wars universe. So that's why today I'm going to be counting down the top 5 best lightsaber duels in the saga. For this list I will only be including battles from the movies, as I will most likely do another list for the Clone Wars and Rebels TV shows. Do keep in mind that today's video is simply my opinion, and I would love if you left your own top 5 lists in the comments below. Just a quick disclaimer, I will not be including Rey vs Kylo Ren from The Force Awakens, simply because there is no footage available at this point in time. However, at some point down the road I'm sure I will do another list that will include this fight in one way or another. Number 5. Yoda vs Darth Sidious, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Emperor Palpatine has successfully executed Order 66 and turned Anakin Skywalker to the dark side of the Force. So this would result in the termination of the majority of Jedi Knights across the galaxy, as well as turning Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader. Yoda, however, who was at the time on Kashyyyk, did not fall and arrived at Coruscant in order to eliminate the Dark Lord of the Sith. They would meet and the fight would ensue inside the Senate chambers, with it being pretty evenly matched to begin with. However, in the end, Palpatine came out with the win and sent Yoda on the run. This is the event where Yoda would actually lose his green lightsaber for it never to be seen again in the films. At the time of Episode 3's release, it was very much a dream for all fans to see the Emperor take on the Jedi Grand Master. From a critical standpoint, it may not have gotten off to a great start, with Sidious doing that weird somersault thing that always makes me cringe. But in the end, I do believe the duel did meet those high expectations. It was an incredibly fun battle to watch, with solid fast-paced action that didn't drag on all that long. And it taking place inside the Senate was also a nice twist, especially with them using the Force on those pod things. While it's still bizarre to see CGI Yoda doing flips and cartwheels all over the joint, it is overall a pretty decent duel with a lot of cool factor, deserving of the number 5 spot. Number 4. Darth Vader vs Luke Skywalker, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. In an effort to turn his father back to the light side of the Force, Luke Skywalker handed himself into the Empire and was taken to the second Death Star. This would all backfire, as it was Palpatine who attempted to swerve Luke to the dark side, similar to how he did with his father. Luke attempted to strike at Palpatine, but this was blocked by Vader. As the duel began, it became even more apparent that the two were much more evenly matched than they were in their last encounter from The Empire Strikes Back. Once Luke was victorious in the duel and had successfully crippled Vader, he saw that his father was just like him. Therefore, he revealed he would never turn to the dark side. The Emperor would then go on to electrocute Luke close to death before Vader would send Palpatine over the guardrail, plummeting to his doom. Overall, it was the evident inner conflict inside of Luke Skywalker that made this fight what it was from a storytelling standpoint. Towards the end, he was clearly coming close to turning to Palpatine's side and taking out his inner rage on Vader, but it was when he cut his father's arm off he realised they were not so different after all. This duel was a great feel-good moment to end the franchise, with Vader then turning back to the light side and saving his son. Number 3. Anakin Skywalker vs Obi-Wan Kenobi, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This was the ultimate moment that the entire prequel trilogy was building towards, and it was the last of about 10 quadzillion lightsaber battles inside of Revenge of the Sith. It was a fight that everyone was waiting to see, and it was a moment that every fan wanted to see unfold. How is it that Anakin became Darth Vader? We all wanted to know. Anakin Skywalker, now known as Darth Vader, was asked by his brand new master, the Emperor, to undertake a mission to Mustafar to destroy remaining Trade Federation members. Oh, yeah, every time they mention the Trade Federation, it makes me yawn naturally. Anyway, upon arrival, Anakin would succeed in his mission before Kenobi even rocked up. After Obi-Wan showed up and they trash-talked for a bit, the duel began. This fight was absolutely brutal. These two really wanted to kill each other. It went through building after building, it went on bridges, at one point they were standing on robots hovering above lava, and the list goes on. It would finally end when Obi-Wan would cut Anakin in half after he attempted a risky jump. It's over, Anakin. He has the high ground. As a result, Anakin would be severely burnt and be forced to wear the Vader suit for the rest of his days. This was the ultimate battle of master versus apprentice, dude versus dude, and bro versus bro, and it was a great fight. The action was fast-paced and hard-hitting. The brilliant set pieces were accompanied by a fantastic score known as Battle of the Heroes. Long live the King, John Williams. But there were a number of nitpicks that held it back though. There are a couple of moments where the choreographed nature of the fight shines through heavily in a negative way. Like this, like for God's sake, why don't you just hit each other? It is also a bit too long. After it passed around 3/4 of the way through, it started to drag on a bit too long. Nonetheless, I believe it is still deserving of the number 3 spot, and it is definitely the best fight out of all 5 that are featured in Revenge of the Sith. Number 2. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn versus Darth Maul, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, along with Queen Amidala, led a mission to take Naboo back from the Trade Federation. Oh, I'm yawning again. As they successfully made their entrance into Theed Palace, they were confronted by the mysterious Sith Lord known as Darth Maul. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan engage in a battle with the saber staff wielding villain. The battle took them through a lot of conveniently designed large CGI areas. After a while, Kenobi would be separated from his master due to another conveniently placed CGI laser wall thing. For God's sake, Obi-Wan, why didn't you just use your force sprint that you used earlier in the movie? For God's sake, this movie, jeez man. Anyway, Obi-Wan has to sit down for a bit as his master is killed by the badass Maul. After a bit of yelling, the strange laser wall thingamajig opens up again, which allows the battle between the two apprentices to ensue. Maul gets the upper hand relatively quickly by knocking Kenobi down a giant conveniently placed CGI hole that is there for absolutely no reason. But never fear, Obi-Wan jumps up from his position, grabs Qui-Gon's saber using the Force, and slices the Sith apprentice in half, sending him packing with one blow. Now don't get me wrong, the gimmicky setting of this fight was pretty out of place, and I mean like God, who installs bridges with no guardrails? Maybe they're just not invented yet. And yes, they made that terrible decision to kill Maul off, which they later reversed in the Clone Wars and Rebels cartoons, thank God. I personally think Maul should have been a villain for the entire prequel trilogy, but that's a video for another time. With all this aside, the actual action and lightsaber combat was absolutely top notch. We all know the prequels has a more choreographed and dance approach to the lightsaber duel, but this is definitely that at its best. This is the best out of all fights in the prequel trilogy. The 2-on-1 aspect of the two Jedi versus the Sith was something we hadn't seen before at the time, not to mention the added element of Maul's double-bladed saber staff made the cool factor off the charts. The fast-paced nature of the fight made up for the lack of actual story and character progression behind the duel itself. So even though in hindsight, The Phantom Menace is arguably the worst film in the franchise, this is one of the best lightsaber battles in the franchise. And for lack of a better word, it is really sick. Number 1. Luke Skywalker vs Darth Vader. Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. All of Luke's friends had been captured by the Empire on Bespin, so just like every human being with friends, Luke left Dagobah in order to rescue Han, Leia and the others. Yoda and spooky ghost Obi-Wan disapproved, claiming that Luke was not ready to take on the Dark Lord of the Sith, but Luke's arrogance at the time led him to ignore his mentors and go anyway. When he arrived in the bowels of Cloud City, Vader was already waiting for him. The duel began fairly even matched, but it didn't take long for the confident and experienced Vader to get the upper hand on young Skywalker. It then quickly went from Darth having the upper hand to him absolutely beating the crap out of Skywalker. Vader proceeded to use the environment to his advantage as he used the Force to knock Luke out of a nearby window. He continued to beat down on Skywalker until he cornered him on the edge of a bridge. By the way, this one had guardrails on it, I'm sure they were just invented. Anyway, the Dark Lord cut off the young Jedi's arm, ouch, that must hurt, before revealing the truth to the boy about his lineage. Vader tells him that he is Luke's father, and insists that Skywalker join him and go on to rule the galaxy together as father and son. Luke refuses before dropping off the side, escaping Darth Vader's clutches. Now I'm sure lots of you knew this would be the number 1 on this list before even clicking on the video, and there is a good reason for that. This duel represents everything a lightsaber battle is about. It contains hard-hitting action that is a lot of fun and entertaining to watch. It includes intense edge-of-your-seat moments, as well as the fact that there is a true story of good versus evil in play here. The duel furthers both characters' arcs in a major way, and it really has you rooting for the main protagonist in Luke Skywalker. And if all that weren't enough, it also may have the biggest twist in cinema history. The fact that Vader was Luke's dad was something that absolutely no one saw coming. Luke vs Vader in The Empire Strikes Back is easily the greatest lightsaber duel of all time because it possesses every factor that an action sequence in movies as a whole needs to be remembered as plain awesome. So that was just my personal top 5 lightsaber duels in the Star Wars franchise. It would be great if you left your own favourite duels in the comment section below. And while you're there, be sure to leave some suggestions for future videos. Be sure to stay tuned to the channel as I will be doing many more Star Wars top 5s in the future. I do hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure you leave some feedback in the comments below. If you're new to the channel, be sure to check out some of my other content and subscribe if you like what you see. You can click the link in the description below to watch one of my previous episodes. Thank you all very much for watching, and may the Force be with you.